Jono Dry, I am a big fan of yours. Your
Thanks, man.
in South Africa. Is it 6 p.m. there?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I'm in Cape Town at the moment.
So Jono Dry in Cape Town.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Excellent.
Thanks, man.
I've
That's
been
great.
looking at your artwork for a little while, and it's that title that you have, hyperrealism. Is that something that you apply to
Oh,
your
no, not at all. No, I think hyperrealism, I'm pretty sure that's like a standard definition, or like it's a genre of art. I mean, I think what I understood your question as was if I like kind of coined that for my own work, which I certainly didn't. Hyperrealism is a genre of work that I think just there's loads of artists, especially in like the 70s or 60s, that were doing loads of hyperrealism work back then. And I don't know if I wouldn't really classify myself as a hyperrealist. I think hyperrealism deals with obviously trying to portray things as close to reality as possible, but also like the realness of, to try and be as honest as possible with what you're portraying. So not necessarily just beautiful, but things that are maybe not so beautiful in a very realistic light. And I think the work I try and do isn't exactly that. I try and work maybe even more surrealistically. So I'll try and deal to harder to portray, or even for me, even to put words to. So, things like just mental health and identity and trying to, I don't know, it's hard, like I said, it's hard for me to put words to, but something that isn't really easily portrayed just using hyperrealism as a genre. So I wouldn't classify my work strictly as hyperrealism.
Yeah, but people are on the people. You're classified as that. That's how they're
Am I?
classified.
Oh, okay. Sure. I mean, I'm not insulted by that. It's fine. Yeah.
Are you? So you, you're not aware that people are calling you this, sort of putting you in this genre? You don't.
I mean, I think, yeah, I'm aware that it's the easiest way to describe the work. I just think it's maybe a limiting box to put the work into. Yeah, I think for me, the surrealistic aspect of the work is important. And that doesn't necessarily fit into the box of hyperrealism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a painter, it's funny. I'm fascinated by drawings.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by your drawings. People think that just because I'm an artist that I can draw.
Right.
And I can't. It's and so I paint.
I struggle to paint, so
I was going to ask if you've explored any other mediums.
So, I mean, I'm busy. I feel like this is actually quite a new thing for me at the moment. I haven't really explored any other mediums, but I really want to. I feel like I'm starting to get held back by the medium that I've been studying over the last 10 years. And I really, so last year I started dabbling in paints and just I bought a canvas and a bunch of oil paints and stuff and started just fooling around. And it was so difficult. Like I've got so much, I suppose, experience with one medium, and my mind just kind of now works with that medium almost intuitively. And to try and now tackle a new medium, it was so humbling. It was so difficult for me to try and paint, even like with grayscale, not even going into color science and stuff. So I really want to experiment with other mediums. I'm finding it incredibly difficult to break away from my comfort zone though.
You started off with oil.
Yeah, not the easiest one.
Yeah, I use acrylic.
Yeah.
Have you tried acrylic paints?
I haven't tried acrylic, and I think I was worried that I'd get into like a comfort zone. So I've got oil paint on this like pedestal in my mind, and I thought I might as well jump into it and just try and figure out the most challenging one, work out a system the same way that I've figured stuff out with graphite to try and figure stuff out with oil. And it just, maybe I bit off more than I could chew. Maybe I aimed too high, and I should start with a medium that's more forgiving, like acrylic potentially.
I think that what you might find with acrylic is that because it dries so fast, it's going to work a little bit more like a pencil.
Yeah, potentially. Although something I'm very interested in, an artist, Kit King, I don't know if you're familiar with her work.
No.
She's a Canadian artist. She's fantastic. And she works in oil, and she uses dry brush. And I actually didn't know about dry brush technique. And using that application, I actually need to give it another shot. But I think that would actually be more in line with the way that I work with pencil, which is the areas you're not so much applying different tones. To get to a dark area, you just apply more paint. And for the lighter areas, you have less paint, which is pretty much how pencil, charcoal, all these dry mediums work. And that seems like something I could wrap my head around a little bit easier than just diving straight into oil, using the oil paint as texture and stuff like that. But I think maybe acrylics could be good as well.
So you are a self-taught artist. I say I'm self-taught, but but at the same time, there are little workshops and like little things that I've attended. Summer school, I was sent to like do a watercolor class, and then in college, I had to do a life drawing class. And so, are you completely self-taught, or have you taken any courses in anything?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely no. I'm not completely self-taught, and it's such a weird thing to try and navigate because I think different people have different definitions of what self-taught is. So I'm self-taught in the sense that I didn't do any tertiary education for art. So I didn't go to any schools post high school specializing in art. I didn't specialize necessarily with any institutions or anything like that. But I definitely did little courses. I did a painting course actually in like 2009 or something like that, which really didn't take, unfortunately. And then apart from that, my mother's an artist. So I grew up in this creative house. She encouraged me to draw. She helped me out with some techniques that she knew at the time. And then at school, I had a fantastic art teacher at school as well, Shaylee Adams. And she really encouraged me and, my friends and I to just push ourselves. And I think that environment was super ripe for me to just grow. I definitely can't take credit for that at all. That's my surroundings that were influencing me and encouraging me. And so I'm not self-taught in the sense that everything I do is, just, I don't know how to put it, but yeah, I've had loads of influence and input and teaching.
Is your mother still working as an artist?
She is, yeah. She's such a role model. Her name is Jono Dry. Yeah, you can find her on Instagram. Definitely check her work out. She's obviously inspired me throughout my life. So, I feel like she's everything that I want to be. Her work is just super loose. She's like familiar with so many mediums. She does like oil, ceramics, pencil, watercolor, acrylic.
So you started drawing very young. At what point did you can you talk to me about your first exhibition?
Yeah, sure. I started drawing. I was passionate about drawing throughout school. And then at the end of matric, we had this kind of exhibition of our schoolwork. So the year's worth of work for art, at least just for that subject. I think that's when the penny dropped that I might be able to do this as a career, which was some of my drawings in my final year exhibition people wanted to buy. And that was pretty cool. I realized that I could maybe do this thing that I really love doing as a hobby, as maybe a full-time job. But I went out and I traveled for a bit. I went to England, did the gap year thing that loads of South Africans do or did at the time. Then my mom called me up and said, "Hey, don't you want to come home?" And yeah, and since she's an artist, she was like, "Don't you want to come home and have an exhibition with me?" And I thought, actually, yeah, that sounds so good. So I took her up on it, and that was great. So I sold 1 or 2 pieces, which was amazing, and that just started rolling from there. Basically, every 6 months or so, tried to set up a show in Amanus.
So you're setting up your own shows, but you also have gallery representation with Rousseau?
Yeah, I was represented by Rousseau for quite a couple of years. And then eventually I left Rousseau and started being represented by some agents in Europe. And they're not necessarily associated with a gallery, but they work with galleries and set up shows with galleries. Yeah.
More like a broker.
Something like that, yeah.
You're on Saatchi art. Do you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, obviously.
Not about that. I mean, look, that was just part of my marketing strategy early on, which was to try and get myself onto every platform possible. I was definitely trying to get as much exposure and take control of the marketing side of my career, because I realized I felt that the way that galleries were working, this is now 7 years ago or so, it was slow. And I felt like I could do, I've obviously got more of an invested interest in my own career than anybody else. So I took the marketing of it into my own hands and started, got onto Saatchi, started researching how to market. The Saatchi representation, I think that's, anyone can sign up there. I don't think that's exclusive in any way.
The only artist that I've spoken to that has any success on Saatchi art is Dawn Reader out of London. Everybody else seems to have the same opinion as you do.
Okay.
I don't use them, but I am on other sites like that.
What other sites are you using?
I do a product conversion on Redbubble. I have a line. My stuff is very sort of figurative, cityscapes, landscapes. But I have this line when people commission me for like a pet portrait.
Yeah,
I keep the licensing and I distribute the painting on to coffee mugs and
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, and so I've got a whole Redbubble line. Do you guys use anything like that in South Africa?
I don't think so. I mean, not that I'm aware of. I'm sure there are probably similar things. There's a very active art scene in South Africa, and especially in Cape Town as well. So there's loads of initiatives happening here. What are your views on how that might affect your career in a bigger aspect? I was so nervous the first time I started pursuing prints of my work. Even the prints that I do produce now are printed on the highest quality paper I can find. And I've tried to just keep my entire brand and everything that I do. I'm very concerned about the quality of stuff that I put out. And it's not that I think anything of like, you know, putting my work onto t-shirts or mugs or anything like that. I think I'm too afraid of what that on my brand or on my career. And what was your thinking going into that?
So I only keep those for my pet portraits because
cool.
My colors are very sort of light blue, baby pink. And I think that's cute on everyone. I started out originally, I'm only going to produce originals.
Right.
You know, I'm an original painter. And
right.
It's not really viable. I read this article or a couple of articles, and what they say, one of the reasons why we're so in love with Van Gogh is because we've seen his images so much. So if you walk into a museum or a gallery or someone's home, or if you know that type of person, and you see that painting, you're in love with him immediately because you're
familiar with it.
I mean, I don't want to see my stuff, like, I don't want to see all my images on a t-shirt, but at some point, like, I do need, like, little sources of income coming in through.
Totally.
I'm not always selling a $3,400 piece, you know, like.
Yeah.
How many times have you done that?
Yeah, exactly. I totally get you.
And then, we have dry spells.
Yeah. It's not the easiest career. It's you've got to hustle. You got to find ways to diversify your streams of revenue and try and you got to ironically get creative with how you make money as well, to sustain what you're doing.
Speaking of that, you have these interesting. I've watched a bunch of your videos. You're one of the only people that I've spoken to that have as many tutorials. So your skills and your techniques you cover them very well. But in the middle of these videos, you give shout outs, sponsorships.
Right,
from major Squarespace.
Yeah. How do you feel about those, by the way?
The first time I heard it, I found it disruptive.
Yeah.
The second time I heard it, because like I'm an artist myself, I was a little kind of intrigued. I'm wondering how, I know about affiliate marketing.
Right.
But you're not doing that. You're actually, you're talking about these products. And how did you start doing that?
So, I mean, look, the thinking behind it is obviously, it's super obvious and simple. It's just, I'm trying to sustain myself. And so the line I drew was, if I can make a bit of money from making these videos, which is something that I love doing, regardless of whether I'm getting paid for them or not, that would just be great. Like, that would be fantastic. It would help me be able to justify spending so much time on them, because I do spend a lot of time on them. They're incredibly demanding. So that was something that I'm not sure how I started. I think actually like Skillshare or someone approached me at some point to like upload a story. And they were actually a company that I also thought my audience might be able to benefit from. So the line that I drew was that the only kind of companies that I want to promote are companies that I actually use or actually think will benefit the people watching my content. And so, yeah, Squarespace were one that I had my eye on for sure. They're a company that have helped me out, not in the sense like they've actually helped me out until they started sponsoring me, which obviously helps me out now. But just being able to set my website up and all that kind of stuff was crucial in helping my career move to a new level. So that's something that I really want to stress to artists who want to take their careers seriously. And so I felt like those two things just like met quite perfectly. I could very happily encourage people to do this thing. It was definitely like a mutually beneficial relationship. Anyway, but yeah, that's my thinking behind the sponsorships. I know that there's a lot of people who have kind of a purist view that it's like selling out or something like that, but I think, and that's fine. I think I was there as well. And I've had that view. I've judged, content creators who have, shamelessly shouted out to big corporations and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, if it's helping you continue to do what you enjoy doing, it's a company you believe in, power to you. Try and get that if you can.
Yeah. Honestly, I do it too. Right now, my search is for a wine company.
Oh, cool. Okay.
For my exhibitions, I serve wine.
Nice.
And I just thought it would be nice to have one brand of wine served, and I'd like to be the promoter for wine used at
That's a great idea. Early on in my career, I had a show. So my dad makes wine in his garage.
Can I use him?
He's like, I mean, we can chat about it. So he's a garagiste winemaker, and so it's like you get different sizes of wineries, and garagiste is the very smallest, and it means garage in, I think, French. And so you make a very small amount of wine. And him and I were brainstorming one time, and I did a bunch of drawings. I did like 25 drawings of nude women, and we called it the Naked Vine wine collection. And so those were the wine labels. And so maybe for you, if you are thinking of working with a potential winery, you could, I don't know, somehow, you could put work on the wine label and like have a whole collaborative thing with the winery, you know, and that's, you know, art and wine go together, you know, so there's potential there.
That is my dream. It's hard. It's I don't know if it's hard, but it's, you know, you don't always get a response from these.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So how do you ship in South Africa? If you were to ship some stuff to Dubai for a show, how would you?
Yeah, that's no problem at all. I ship all over the world. I mean, you just create your work, you know, DHL, or there's loads of shipping companies that work from here. So I've been very discerning with the companies that I work with to really, you know, try and make sure that it gets to the people that I'm sending work. Yeah, especially if people are forking out money for your artwork. I don't know. That's something that's pretty important. I don't know how
do you, when you're shipping, so you put it on a framework at some point?
Okay, so I mean, yeah, the way that I work with paper is I work with most of my drawings are very large, and the paper comes on a roll. It's also 300-gram paper, so it's quite heavy, and it's so difficult to try and get flat. So I have to wet it. I don't know if you've seen that in any of the videos.
I have seen it.
The amount of questions I've gotten from people like, why do you wet your paper? It's endless. Anyway, so I stretch the paper onto like a wooden board, and I store it that way when it's in my studio. And then when I ship it, I put it onto like a kind of a acid-free hard cardboard between like acid-free paper and stuff as well to avoid it from smudging. And generally I ship it flat if I'm shipping a couple artworks to Europe or something. But we recently shipped a large piece to America, and we decided to roll it. And then we just informed the client that they need to be very, very careful when they unroll it, or actually go straight to a framer and unroll it at the framer. It's tough. It's difficult to package. I think it's also expensive to package those works flat and crate them. But yeah, it's the only way. So we have to do it.
So you flatten your paper, and then on the board, how do you attach it to that board?
So there's a tape called gum tape, which is, yeah. Are you familiar with it?
Yeah. So you tape the edges, and then it just stays on the board until it's ready to ship?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes even the paper is so strong that when it's being stretched after I've waited and it's busy drying, it sometimes snaps the gum tape, or even it'll pull the board. It'll bow the board with like the tension of the paper, which is quite hectic. And then if I like try and pull it flat again, then the gum tape snaps and pulls off. But generally the gum tape usually is strong enough to hold it on that board.
What about preserving the graphite when you ship? Do you spray it or?
Yeah, so I found a fixative that's really good, which is the Scrumboscher. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it. It's a German fixative. And it's UV protection. It's got loads of protection on it, or like, you know, elements in it that protect and preserve the graphite. And it also doesn't alter the way that the graphite looks, which is really important. So that's the one that I've been using for the last couple of years, and it's been great. It's been fine.
I need to start varnishing my work.
Yeah, I've heard about. I mean, well, with acrylic, varnishing is amazing. Have you seen any acrylic artists varnishing their works?
No, I guess I should.
You need to watch this because it's absolutely like part of one of the appeals for me to potentially go into acrylic is literally for that moment of seeing an acrylic artwork get varnished. Because it's like watching something come to life in the most magical way. You really do yourself a favor, go look for like varnishing or like some kind. It's something that's also very easy potentially for you to market to an audience as well, just because it's so satisfying to see how the colors pop when you just like coat it with varnish. It literally makes it look almost like oil. It's beautiful. You gotta check it out.
I don't usually pay any attention to acrylic artists because they're kind of my competition. To be honest, I was looking at your artwork for a little while, and then I started watching your videos because of your how to wet your paper.
Okay.
And you know how videos will kind of run in mute for a second before you hit play, and I didn't know it was water, but it was just that like, you know, that I was, I'll watch this. I don't know what this is.
Oh, cool.
I'm going to watch it. So do you pay attention to how many followers you have on YouTube?
Yeah, it's definitely it's a kind of a good thing to track.
And you have like 54,000 followers, and each one of your videos get like 237,000 views.
Yeah, I'm really like, I'm very happy about that, and feel very fortunate about that. To be honest, I don't know why my videos are getting particular interest, because I feel like there's so many YouTube artists out there all doing the same thing, but I'm incredibly grateful for it.
How much effort did you put into your YouTube? How did it, I mean, people post videos all the time and they have like 12 followers.
Yeah.
How did you kind of...
So, oh man, I like to research stuff before I do it. I really like to do stuff well if I can. I love film as well, so YouTube made sense to try and pursue. And at some stage, I just felt like I needed to be making time lapses, or at least I just really wanted to make time lapses to see how it would look. I thought it would look cool. And then I think, so I've had my YouTube channel for quite a while, and I uploaded very sporadically, like maybe once every 9 months, and like there's a year gap between some videos. And I was just basically uploading, just making like these fun videos, time lapses of my drawings. And I had already developed a little bit of a following on Facebook at the time. So I think I used I just share my videos on Facebook, and slowly but surely people started subscribing to my YouTube channel, eventually to the point that I got enough subscribers and enough views to become YouTube partner, which, I mean, the benchmark is, I think it's difficult if you've got no kind of platform to leverage to try and build your following up. So yeah, as soon as I hit that threshold and became YouTube partner, I don't understand the YouTube algorithm exactly, but I would imagine that as soon as they've got a financial incentive to show your videos, as in there's ads on your videos from YouTube, then they'll promote your videos more. So as soon as I was partner, then I was like, cool, let me actually try and do this a little bit more seriously. And that happened about last year, I don't know, maybe March, actually about a year ago.
You jumped from 1,000 to 54,000 in a year?
Yeah, look, actually, I mean, I think I'm on like 150,000.
Oh, David Beckham here.
But I'm so proud of it. Yeah, so that happened, and that was great. And I don't know why the channel's been successful in that way, but I pour a lot of my love into those videos. I really love making them, and I've researched a lot about how to make something enjoyable to watch. So I like to think that maybe that's kind of some of the stuff that makes it nice for people to watch as well.
Honestly, because I'm not a drawer, so a lot of the tutorials, they don't apply to what I'm doing. But
yeah,
I will turn your videos on and set my phone aside, and I listen to you, and like a pocket.
Okay. That's so cool, man.
Yeah, and even though like what you're saying doesn't apply to what I'm doing, like your whole philosophy is just kind of, it just gets my head going. And
that's a huge compliment, dude. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, every once in a while you'll say something and I'll be like, oh, let me see that water drop, and I'll kind of look over and I'm like, oh, okay, I see what he's doing. Yeah.
Oh man, thanks. That's cool. Really cool.
All right, well, I think we covered like a lot of ground.
Yeah, man, I've enjoyed chatting to you. This has been very easy, and yeah.
What's your next step as an artist?
If you asked me that question like 2 years ago, I think, it would be a very basic answer. Like, I just want to see how far I can take this. I love doing what I'm doing, and I want to kind of just ride that wave as far as I can go, and hopefully I can continue to be an artist for the rest of my life. And I mean, I still hope that. I still want to produce work for the rest of my life, but I just have no clue where my career will go.
Apart from YouTube.
And it's so weird. It's like, I can't deny that the weird time that we're in right now is influencing things. So at the moment, I'm feeling like I'm at a bit of a crossroads where I'm not exactly sure what I'm trying to do, but I feel like things are changing, obviously in the world, but then on a very personal level as well. And I feel like my work is on the precipice of changing as well, and I don't really know where it's going.
You're exploring new mediums. You're kind of...
Yeah.
What will probably happen is that you'll start exploring another medium, get very good at it, and then like kind of bring the two together.
That would be amazing.
Yeah,
yeah, my mind's pretty open to any kind of possibility like that, and it's really exciting, but it's also terrifying because there's less like, I've built a career out of what I do right now, and the idea of potentially shifting or actually just being bad at something, like I've got confidence in what I do, and I feel comfortable in what I do. And like I said in the beginning of this interview, and when I tried to tackle oil painting, it humbled me so badly. I just felt terrible. So it's difficult for me to go from feeling proficient in something to feeling completely useless. But I do feel like it's so important for me to do that, to grow. I'm feeling like I don't want to stagnate. And I don't want to just produce work because it's a formula that potentially sells. The reason I produce work is because, actually, I don't really know. That's such a hectic question, but like, yeah, I feel like I need to grow.
It's for me, artwork. It's like an exploration. You know, I sit there. A lot of the times, I'm exhausted by the image itself. And then suddenly you just kind of like have to sit and stare at it. So a lot of the times I feel like, and I don't know if you can do this with pencil because you kind of cover the entire thing, but sometimes I'll just say, I guess this is done. You know, I want to move on.
Yeah.
And then
absolutely. I think we can all relate to that.
Well, this has been a pleasure. I hope that, all right, well, Jono Dry, I want to thank you. I'm going to keep my eye on your career and your art development. I'd like to see those paintings. And I wish you the best.
Thanks a lot for this.
Thank you.
Cool. Keep well.
Bye.
Cheers.
Hi guys, I hope you liked this video. If you guys like this type of content, don't forget to subscribe and like.